it's just not Indigo's problem, okay? If you ask me straight away, it is more employees' problem. I mean, Indigo is not the first company which has gone down, you know. Yeah, there are many companies which follow the same path, rise and fall, overwork, you know, squeeze their employees to the last dime. I understand all that, okay? There's much to blame to the company, but then let's not get into that game. My point here is with the employees. Like, why are we, I mean, what is that in the world that binds us, that makes us go and swallow all the shit that we receive? You know, I read this open letter that this pilot has written, and I felt very bad, you know. First of all, for you, man, I usually shoot my videos like this, you know, in one hand, holding the camera in one hand. But for you, I'm keeping this still for this. Now that I have paid respect to you, I have something more to tell you, my friend. Not only you, people like you. And I appreciate that you came forward and showed some guts in voicing your opinion. Now let's get to the point. Questions. What is that really that pushes us to, you know, take shit? Why are we a culture that takes shit? Why? There are other cultures in the world that where we want to go and work. I mean, they're known for their working hours and then, you know, correct employee treatment, you know, human rights and blah, blah, blah. Knowing all this, signing a bond legally, signing a contract, you know, taking an offer letter with your signature and the company's signature, officially, we go ahead and we go extra hours and we receive all the calls on the weekends and the vacation time, no family time, you know. Just the bank balance increases a little bit, not as much as it increases in entrepreneur's case. But, you know, let's say you have your pluses there. But what are you getting out of that? People, I'm from Bangalore. I see people only on the weekends, you know, just guzzling up some extra beer, using the same shit, some more. What does that make us? I mean, where does that take us? What is the meaning of that? You call that life? Entire week they work like donkeys. What is the point of that? Why have you accepted the burnout culture? Tell me that. Look, I also worked for some Fortune 500 companies. I mean, it may sound big, but I was not really fortunate to work with these Fortune 500 companies. I can only say I was fortunate to have worked with these companies like Accenture, IBM, Wipro, etc. only when I became a consultant, independent consultant, not when I was an employee. And that's why I'm making this video, okay? I only worked with one company as an employee, and that was Dell Technologies, Dell Computers. Fantastic company. I'm grateful to the company for having given me a break, you know. That's where I got my first break as a coach, as a trainer years ago. They showed me some best practices in the world, and I'm grateful to that company for giving me a chance. But the employee culture, the work culture, the toxic, stupid burnout culture that we have in India is very true. At least at my time, oh, it was a hell. On top of that, I had an English manager, which means he was from England. I mean, you know, the native British guy. And he was just like his ancestors, you know, this fake smile. In every sentence, they shove the smile like, you know, even if there is no need to smile and no matter how serious the conversation is, just a fake smile there, as though he doesn't mean that, you know. And underneath, internally, they have all these ill intentions, you know. He was extremely rude to me. He was a nightmare for me. I mean, there were like 15 soft skills trainers, you know. L&D, they call it learning and development, right? In that, we were only 3 guys. One was his slave. He would do anything he wants, so he was safe. 2 of us were a bit rebellious, and the rest of them are women, so he was very nice to them. But 2 of us got the heat all the time. And I was the only one in the entire company who resisted, who said I will not work extra hours. At that time, it was many years ago. Right now, you know, people are aware of their rights. They're aware of the work culture, and then, you know, it's much more relaxed. And then because of the startups and investment and all that, you know, people have learned their rights, and still they are stressed. But at our time, oh, it was a hell, you know. If I quit, if I didn't want to work, there were 100 people behind me who replaced me like this. At that time, you know, we were called for all these extra type of exhibitions or whatever conferences we had to attend, And it was not paid. They said there'll be pizza, there'll be beer. I mean, who gives a shit about pizza and beer? Who wants all that? At our time, it was a little bit of a treat, I agree. But then, who gives a damn about that, man? And I resisted. I said, is there extra payment for that? I mean, is this a choice in the first place? I mean, do I get to make a choice whether I would like to go or not? And on top of that, are you giving any extra time? Nothing. And nobody had a question. Nobody, okay, we'll see. Okay, I have to, half a day Saturday. I mean, in a city like Bangalore, half a day's time and back and forth, coming and going, the transportation and everything. It's just like entire day, isn't it? Does it make sense? So there are a couple of points we have to understand, my friends. First thing is your sense of comfort. You are caught up in a web of comforts. There's something that fears you, that there's something that tells you, oh, this is not enough, oh, I have much more to do, much more wealth to collect. What are you collecting wealth for? The day I understood that my need is very simple, everybody's need is very simple, in fact. 2 good meals, 1 clean bed. That's all. 2 good meals, 1 clean bed. You don't need anything else. When you can live with this, no matter what kind of fantastic 5-star apartment you live in, no matter what car you drive, no matter what kind of clothes you wear, my friend, your basic human need is that much. 2 meals, 1 bed. That's all. If you can rest well, if you can eat well, everything else will be fine in your life. The person who realizes that will not take shit from these guys and from this corporate. I don't know who came up with this idea of like need of the hour, deadlines. Who sets the deadline? Have you ever thought about this? Who is setting the deadline for what? I understand when business to business, there is a certain requirement of a company and that needs to be fulfilled. If there's some shipping is required, something that is timed, I understand all that. But it's not like that all the time. 80% of the times, these deadlines, this thing called cutting costs, some billionaire there, wakes up one day and said, you know what? If we cut cost from all these employees by $1 each, we can buy this next building, we can expand another office, we can buy another yacht, another trip to the Mars, to the moon. Who is coming up with these ideas? Have you ever thought? You're an employee, you have accepted that as your fate because of the money that they give you. Come on. If enough of us show the guts, understand our need is very simple, that realization brings respect to you. I understand if you're married, you'll have commitments, but then before you married, you work for a few years, right? This attitude starts from there. I understand after marriage, it's a different thing. But even then, I have seen this fantastic Japanese couple, one of these hippie couples with 3 kids. Man, I've never seen a family like that, full of joy and full of happiness. They live very simply in small guest houses, because I set out on my soul searching trip. I've been through 5-star trips and then it was cheap shit trips and all that. During that time, I saw many different people and learned many lessons. This family that I saw, 3 little kids, they've been around half the world, just doing little things here and there, just selling a little bit of that, living modestly, and they're happy. And husband and wife, I used to see them having conversations and talking and laughing for 2 to 3 hours, sometimes 4 hours. Do you live that kind of life with all your money and all your comforts? When you see this, when you travel, when you take out time, travel is like a book. It's a book of wisdom. Travel is not just going and seeing buildings and then bricks and stones and taking some pictures. It's not about that. It's life lessons on the go. When I saw that family, they were 2 rooms away from where I lived, in one of the guest houses. Those were tough days in my life and I was on low funds. And they lived in a small room and they were so happy. They were doing everything a traveler can do. They live like a month. They go to a new place, live 1 month, 2 months. You see what I'm saying? We have to understand. See, if your need creates fear in you, you're doomed. You're gone. Okay. This pilot says a lot of sentences in there. This is something you really have to understand, my friends. Your need is very basic. You get into this web of installments and countless credit cards and stupid long cars that you don't require just as yet, Simple life is beautiful life. And when you understand that, look, I'll also tell you something. See, I've made another video on Pareto principle. It explains how you can simplify. I'm big on this minimalism. I'm probably one of those people who are pioneers who embraced minimalism early on, and I'm very happy about that. 8 or 9 years ago, when I realized that minimalism, Pareto principle, and all that, I decided I had one trolley, and I decided all that I need for my life will go into the trolley, no matter what, including my shoes. I had one pair of shoes, one bathroom slippers, and that's it. Racks filled with clothes and shoes I minimized and put it in there. Even now, I travel like that. Now it's a backpack, it's not a trolley anymore, but I travel like that. In between, I built about 3 startups, which I lost for natural calamities. Once an earthquake in Nepal, and then COVID, all that. But it's okay. Things happen in our entrepreneur's life is like that, up and down and down and up. So rise and fall is part of our lives. But even when I was a CEO, even when I was running my startup and I was happy and we were earning well, the money would go to the bank and I would check into some fantastic places, apartments, fully furnished, I would not buy anything. It's not my bed, it's not my sofa, it's not my thing, just one trolley. That always reminds you how simple life is, how to unburden yourself, and then you will not give into this bullshit. But because you're in the web of things, that you have bought too many things, unnecessary things, and you have these unnecessary commitments with the society and with the banks, with the complete economic arrangement, now you're stuck in that web. Now you feel like you need more money, you have to earn, you have to swallow this, whatever shit you get, because job is very important. Job is not important, man. You can do so many things like pilots. I read this story of pilots, like how they abuse these pilots. Come on, man, I cannot believe, There's the story with all the corporate cubicle works, At least I thought pilots have more of an edge. But now when I read this story, I'm like, no, you guys are extra brilliant people. You can do 100 things. Your brains work in many different ways. Didn't you realize that? Do you have to fly that goddamn flight all the time? So what? You stand up for your right and then somebody takes action, somebody suspends you, somebody doesn't give you the job, or you lose it for a while. There are hundreds and thousands of opportunities for you to explore. Why the hell do you stand there and take that? See, bullies don't bully you. In school, we learn a lesson. Bullies don't bully you if you stand against them. Even if you cannot win them, even if you're weak. Because bullies don't like it. They choose their praise that give in to it. They just ignore those who fight back. Even if they're not going to win. Because they know that it's a waste of time. He's not going to take it. He's going to fight back, and they don't want that. You understand? Same thing works in corporate life. You don't take nonsense. You stand for your right. You choose other options. See, when you follow a lifestyle like mine, simple, you don't have to worry. Your need is just good food and good sleep. That's it. And then you can build on from there. You understand what I'm saying?